players do have their own way of getting around to communicating. I've seen someone spin around and just like spam and like follow you for a long time to communicate with you, like
that might have been me. Like, because I can't communicate, so like I would just chase people down on bikes and just see what they're doing.
I'm gonna reiterate this a lot. This is a children's game, and people who complain about it are not children.
I like the weird meta narrative that Pokemon put in, where it's like, it's the toxic fan base.
You know, a lot of people before, they were like, oh, what if trainers are actually out and harassing Pokemon? It's like, no, Pokemon are really out to harass you.
Hello and welcome to Startown Radio, a game appreciation podcast where we talk about the good and bad of the games. Do we like all the games that we're going to review? No. Hell no. But today, we're talking about Pokemon Sword and Shield. Who's the we? It's me, Isaac Atan, game designer for Startown, and...
Robert Lee, composer, video game music theorist, and lover of Pokemon.
Awesome. Welcome, Robert. If you don't know, Robert is the guy who does... What's the right word? Composed?
Composed.
Yeah, the one who composed the theme that Startown has at the end of every video. So again, thanks for that, dude.
No problem. Anytime.
Let's jump right into it. Pokemon Sword and Shield. Overall, what are your thoughts?
I love the game. Like, I think Nintendo has a really great hold on this new port of Sword and Shield. You know, brand new perspective, brand new gameplay. And, you know, it's even though it's the same formula, you know, we're still catching, battling, becoming the champion. It's always something that we look forward to. And then even better, I think this game, they just streamlined so much of what Pokemon is about. And they made it even better for like veteran players to enjoy and beginners to just like fall in love with from the get-go.
I've been trying to rank this game in terms of like my favorites, because for me, like Emerald is my favorite personally.
Me too.
Yeah, and I'm trying to figure out where I'd rank it.
I guess personally, I would rank it pretty high up because like I think introducing raid battles, if you guys haven't done raid battles yet, raid battles is a lot of fun. And then, you know, having to see the whole wild area is like probably one of my favorite parts of this game.
It's definitely overall been one of my favorite Pokemon experiences so far. Yeah, it's really hard to rank it because it is really different from the other ones. But yeah, overall, definitely one of my favorite experiences. And yeah, I think from here on, I'm gonna say spoilers. Just expect spoilers. So if you haven't played it and you're waiting till Christmas or whatever, our review is buy it. I think it's a lot of fun.
I mean, we can before we like get into spoilers, we can just talk about the general logistics, things that we already know, that everyone already knows, you know? Like we can talk about the characters.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Yeah. What do you think of the characters?
Overall, I like them a lot. Like, I think this is one of the better written games.
Yeah, I definitely think our rivals really have the animosity that we've been lacking in the past few installments, you know? Like they're just really out there to become a champion, and just, you know, even we can be healthy and friends, but we're still trying to become the best. And that was something we've been lacking the past few installments with like Sun and Moon. I don't even remember what happened, who was our rival in X and Y. They weren't that memorable in my opinion.
No, we had like 4 too at the time, but like I don't remember most of
X and Y.
Yeah, X and Y. I don't remember most of that game.
Yeah, and then, you know, at the most recent I can probably think of is maybe Diamond and Pearl, but even then Barry was more like living on his own schedule rather than actually trying to be our proper rival.
Yeah, people described Hop, like the main rival, as a mix of Barry and How, and I think that's like a pretty proper description of him.
Not only that, he also has a lot more depth than Barry and How
have
combined. Yes.
Yeah, no, he is definitely one of the best written characters I think that Pokemon's had.
Yeah, and then he's so expressive. Like, as the story progresses, we just see so many facets of him that we don't get to experience with other rivals.
I think the whole game is a lot more expressive. Like, compared to Sun and Moon, our own player character is like so expressive, and I love it.
I totally agree. And then not only that, like, even though we have multiple rivals, we don't suffer through the X and Y syndrome where we lose touch of our rivals, you know. Marnie, always been Marnie, you know. She has her own thing going on, and, you know, even though she has less of a presence than Hop and even Bere, I would say she still has a strong presence, especially when we get to late game.
I think, yeah, overall, like, the characters compared to like other games, they're much more memorable.
Exactly, yeah.
They're much more thought out.
Mm-hmm.
Even like smaller characters, like what's her name, Olena.
Oh, I love Olena.
She even has like a lot more personality than like most other characters in other games.
Exactly. But I can't talk more about Olena until we get to our spoiler part. So
Yeah.
So let's just keep going, Isaac.
Just some other general quality of life updates that I really liked. Having 3 A buttons.
Yes, 3 A buttons. I think definitely getting rid of the nickname option and setting Pokemon directly to the box.
Oh yeah.
One of the best things.
Yeah, that was something they took from
I think Let's Go,
yeah,
right?
Let's Go had like just basically your Pokemon box just on hand at all times.
Yo, that was also a great thing. I think not only that, just getting rid of the B run button.
Oh yeah.
I mean they got rid of it before, but like this is definitely for a main installment. This is like a big improvement just because always holding the B button just to run around, and that always kind of got in the way with some things, and it's not good for our fingers.
Yeah, I definitely set my controller to the one-handed mode, and it was like flipping between left hand and right hand while I was playing, because just like, oh, I want to eat, because Pokemon I don't think is a game that you need to be like invested in. It needs your like constant focus.
Yeah, I mean people will be invested, but like this is a game for kids.
Yeah, absolutely. So I don't need to be like both hands on the controllers at all times. I want to be in one hand Googling on Cerebi.com like my evolution stats or whatever.
I think another great aspect of life, and these are not spoilers, is if we're not talking about like casual play, we can talk about competitive play too, in terms of nature mints. I'm not sure if you tried it out yet, but like nature mints I think are one of the best things to come in the game, especially for I'm a minor competitive player myself, and like I tried to get my best nature from my Pokemon as I try to get into competitive play and doing Battle Tower and all these other battle installments. And so I think it saved a lot of time than trying to hatch or breed or trying to restart the game to get a perfect nature for your Pokemon, when you can just not worry about it until like late game and just do it.
My Drum Boom, what's his name?
Rillaboom,
yeah. He went to the PC box real fast for me just because he had like the worst nature for him. I don't know. I try to like play the game just as
is.
Yeah, as it is, but man, it was really tough.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I'm guilty myself last night trying to well, I can't mention anything, but I was getting a certain gift Pokemon from our friend, and I spent like maybe 2-3 hours resetting for the nature. And I think, well, obviously the good thing about how we talked about earlier, how we can not be super invested, I was just playing another game or like just kind of like casually lounging around as I was resetting. But I think that was a great aspect of life that we can just consider. We can just get the nature mints, but some people aren't as obsessed as I am.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, I'm definitely I lean more on like the casual side. Like for me, Pokemon is always just about like the adventure and the exploration.
Exactly.
Like there's definitely the competitive community and the collectors community. It's not for me personally, but if that's for you, I think that's fine.
And I think that's a great thing about this game, because they actually add a lot for both casual and competitive people.
Yeah, you're right. Like you get the catching charm, which like ups your like your lucky catch pretty quickly actually.
I think the only aspect of life that they took away for us is like reusable TMs, but then we can talk about raid battles when we get there.
All right. I don't really have any other spoiler things that I want to get into. Oh wait, one thing, it's kind of a spoiler, but it's just a general warning if you haven't played the game yet. The evolutions in the game occur really fast.
Oh yeah.
And I love it, but the first time it happened, it caught me off guard because I wanted to press B on my Grookey. And so I got, what's his name? I don't remember any of the Pokemon's names. But he evolved real quick. Like the evolution is like 2 seconds when it used to be like closer to 10, I think.
Yeah. And I think not gonna lie, that actually streamlined. That's part of the whole streamlining with this game.
For sure.
I like how they got rid of a B button, gave us Pokemon box immediately from Let's Go.
You got to change your faction almost immediately, which is really nice.
Yeah, exactly. And there's just a lot of things that are kind of very intuitive. Pokemon has always been a children's game, but at the same time, they understand their audience is both children and people who are veteran players.
Yeah.
And so I think it's a great thing that they start streamlining a lot of the things that we did not appreciate in the past Pokemon games. And I think kids didn't appreciate either.
For sure.
But that's very objective for me. That's very subjective for me to say because I've been playing Pokemon since first generation.
Yeah, this is an opinion podcast, so like, if you like something and someone else doesn't, audience member, shove off. But yeah, I guess we can just kind of get into it now.
Okay, so then we can just say spoiler alert.
Yeah, spoiler alert. Honestly, there's probably going to be some non-spoilery stuff in here, but just be warned from here on out. Anyways, first thing that I wanted to talk about, absolutely not a spoiler, but the spin.
The spin, oh my gosh, I love the spin. I think they did it to deal with people who like to or kids who had ADHD who spun the joystick a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Regardless, I still spun it a lot too.
Oh yeah, no, I spent the first probably 5 or 10 minutes of the game just in my house, spinning and posing in front of my mom. I was trying
to time it so when I always landed in front, facing towards the camera.
Yeah.
Just so I can get sorry, this is kind of a tangent off, but with the spin, I love the fact that since we're using the Switch now, we can screenshot and record Pokemon.
Oh yeah.
And I think that's one of the greatest improvements or aspects that we can add to our Pokemon experience. The problem with Pokemon is its replayability factor within the game. If we restart the game, we can obviously replay it, but
right.
That's always been a Pokemon thing where we just can't go back to where we were.
Right.
And some cutscenes and gameplay are absolutely beautiful, and I'm so glad we can finally screenshot or actually even record those moments. Yeah, no, definitely. Compared to other Switch games, I have the most screenshots and recordings in Pokemon compared to Breath of the Wild or Mario Odyssey. Yeah. And Breath of the Wild was its own experience, but a lot of it was on our own. Yeah. Have you played a local wireless game yet? Yes, I have. I loved it. It was so much fun because I had my friends Joe and Jonathan. They both got Sword, and we were just running around in the wild area. And there was something genuinely really exciting about just running around together with friends in Pokemon. And not only that, I think when you play internet mode and you see all those people going around, I think even though we're strangers, but there's something very comforting to know that we're all just playing and starting off in this adventure together. Oh, hell yeah. I think that was one of the most exciting things. Every time a new installment comes in, you just feel that childlike sense of excitement to play a game. Yeah. But that actually brings me to I think my first critique of this game is that there was no communication options with players when you're online. I think that's true. I think that comes from just Nintendo avoiding communication options because it can be a toxic space for people who can communicate. Yeah. And I think they did that with Splatoon too, so I totally understand what Nintendo's going for. Yeah, I just wish they had something like the Smash Bros option where it's oh hey, at the end of the battle or before the battle you can be yo, or let's Smash Bro, and just have a preset option that you can just say to people in the wild. Just be I'm looking to catch Pokemon or something like that. They can totally censor it as much as they want. It'd just be nice to be hi to someone else in the game. I think that's true. I mean, but players do have their own way of getting around to communicating. I've seen someone spin around and just spam and follow you for a long time to communicate with you. They set up
that
camps.
Might have been me. Because I can't communicate, so I would just chase people down on bikes and just see what they're doing. Yeah, I mean, I think part of being in the world of Pokemon is finding your own way. Yeah. And I think that applies to Splatoon. If you've played Splatoon, Splatoon players have different ways of communicating with each other. Players will find a way to communicate. I think that's not the biggest problem. Yeah. Overall, I think my complaints with this game are very minor. Yeah, same here. I just wanted to bring them up because I think it's good to open up dialogue about good and bad of games. And if we're gonna do that, then let's talk about the overall mapping of the world then, because a lot of people have mixed feelings. So I want to ask your opinions on it, Isaac. As a design, I think it's fine. Overall, I'm mixed on it, honestly. I think it's fine to just play through. I think they could have taken it a level further, but that would have been more narratively. Because each main section of the game is basically you start in like a town with a gym, and then you go to 2 other gyms, and then you come back to that 3rd gym in the cycle, 3rd or 4th, depending on like which area it is. And I think narratively that works really well. Like it's like a mini hero's journey. You know, you start here, you go out, you grow, and then you come back, and then you face the challenger. They kind of did that similarly in Emerald, or like the Ruby Sapphire generation, where like you meet your dad, you go out, fight 4 gyms, and then you come back and then you fight him. So there is like that sense of like, you know what, I'm back in this place again and I'm stronger. I just wish they kind of, as a narrative, hit that a little harder.
I see. Yeah. But I think I want to talk about Gym Challenge like on a separate topic.
Oh,
but
for sure.
I think I was talking about overall the general mapping, like the plans and intricacies of the towns and themselves.
Oh yeah. Okay.
You know, I think because like, you know, Wild Area by itself is so expansive. There's so much to do there. And you know, and it's always changing. So far I still haven't explored the whole thing yet. I mean, I have, but like I haven't gotten to experience the whole thing
Oh
yet.
yeah, for sure, yeah.
But you know, I feel I'm talking about like when we get into Hammerlock or Wimden or, you know, all those other towns comparing to the other games. I think they're beautiful, but I think they're just a little bit lacking or linear in terms of like the grander designs besides Wimden. But Wimden's barely cutting it. I'm not sure if that's a product of us being the Switch, or, you know, they spent a lot more time in other aspects.
Yeah, I'd have to say
well, how about I give you some examples?
Okay.
So let's take Alistair's town, still one stage. At first, it's kind of like, okay, you see a little market, and then the gym is right there.
Right.
And the only divergence is probably the mural and those little like ladder cases out on the side.
Right.
And that was probably the most we get out of that town. And we move on to Opal through the forest.
Right.
And and to Opal, we go to the stadium and it's like one tangent, and it doesn't even lead anywhere. It's just a dead end.
Oh yeah, you're okay.
I think a lot of it's sacrifice for intricacies, which I love about old Pokemon, just being a part of a town and going out everywhere. But maybe it's just like my nostalgia glasses, because, you know, I feel like some towns, like let's take for Sinnoh, right? Do you remember the 4th gym leader, the ghost type gym leader, Heartcove, or I don't remember where it was, but
Purple Lady though, right?
Yeah, Purple Lady.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think I really appreciated her city in all Sinnoh. And even Unova, like the big apple city, was so much, you know. And Kalos too, Luminos has such a big expansive city, and it was just one big circle.
Yeah, okay, I get what you're saying now. Yeah, like yeah, there really wasn't a whole lot to do in most of the towns. Design wise, I liked them all, but yeah, no, I get what you're saying. There wasn't a whole lot of character to them beyond the aesthetic.
I think at least now we can interact with Pokemon. Because before they were just kind of like Pokemon, but sometimes we see them, like we can actually talk to Pokemon that are like off map, you know?
Yeah.
I think that was like one of the things like I really liked. I was like, we can talk to Pokemon off map. It's really cute.
Oh yeah. The personalities, like I think they did a great job at expressing those like Pokemon personalities constantly through the game. Even if, you know, it is the same thing over and over and over again. It was great to see a Wooloo rolling around in the background, and then you see, you know, whatever, like a different Pokemon interacting with the world in a completely different way. I think the small shifts that they've made in this game are for the better, including the national dex. I don't know if you want to get into that just yet.
I'm ready anytime.
Okay, yeah. Let's jump right into that. What is your take on the national dex?
As a long-time Pokemon player, I'm a little bit disappointed that I don't get my favorite Pokemon. But I understand, like, playing through the whole game, I understand the sacrifices they had to make to accommodate for the whole game. You know, they had almost every single Pokemon have an overworld sprite in the wild area, and just like routes in general. They rotate the Pokemon. They included the animations. They included their personalities. They included like reactions to when you get there. You know, there's like so much that they have to do to handle this whole new port in the span of like 1-2 years, you know?
Yeah, I think a lot of the subtlety kind of got lost on the community, especially leading up to the game. Because that's, I think, what the game does really well is the subtlety. Because when Game Freak announced, oh, hey, you know, we're going to cut down on the roster to make room for more animations and stuff, people were expecting a lot of the battle animations. Like, one of the things I know was brought up was like, oh man, in Pokemon Stadium or whatever, Blastoise, like when he used Hydro Pump, it actually shot out of the back of his cannons or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I think that's what a lot of people were expecting, was like these big glamorous animations. But what we got, I think, and what I liked about it was the subtleties. I talked about it in like one of my videos earlier, but the subtleties is what made the Pokemon world, I think, so much more lively this time. Like, Sudowoodo, for his animation, he barely moves. And it's hilarious because, like, that's his character. He's trying to be a tree, so he's stiff. Like I said before, Wooloo rolls, Bounsweet bounces, and, like, there's so much movement and different personalities to each of these Pokemon now.
Yeah. And not only that, I think, you know, when people were picking on the animations, they really cherry picked of which animations are being brought up. For example, Cinderace, someone brought up like, oh, double kick. Well, double kick has never been that great of an animation from any of the other games in the get-go. You know, Cinderace has his own animation with Pyro Ball. And if you've seen it yourself, like, he kicks a rock and does like a whole soccer animation. I think that animation is so well done. And like, it's so like smooth as it hits the Pokemon. So, you know, why cherry pick double kick? Do you actually use double kick? And
also, like, in terms of just working scope, like, if you wanted to just give them, you know, the general physical attack animation, a lot of Pokemon's physical attack animations for like tackle take like 1 or 2 seconds. So you're gonna have to watch that twice, and I don't think that that's, for entertainment wise, like, that's just a waste of a player's time, you know. And if you wanted to do a light attack for each Pokemon, you know, that's whatever 300 400 specific animations you're gonna have to do for each Pokemon in addition to everything else that you've done. And I don't know, I get what people want. I don't think it's viable, like, financially for the people who are working on the game.
And not only that, you know, I think us as a community have taken Pokemon for granted. Because they do produce really amazing games in the span of 1 to 2 years, and which is a hard thing to do. A lot of games take a longer time to produce.
Yeah.
And, you know, they may be like a big company, but their workers are still limited. Their like direction is limited. They have to produce a story, produce new Pokemon, do animations, and do mapping. Like, that's a lot to ask of like a company.
Yeah, and you really can't, for Pokemon especially, because it's such a massive IP, you can't delay the game because, you know, there's an anime coming, there's a trading card game coming. You can't delay everything, you know.
Exactly. And I think that's probably why they do sequels to a lot of their games, is they release the first game and then they get a chance to have a little more time and improve on the game. But, like, you know, if we're talking about just Sword and Shield, like, starting off, I think it's already an amazing game. And and I've noticed a lot of people who've been complaining about it don't actually play the game itself.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. There's definitely people who are gonna be mad for the sake of being mad. I think that's just a large part of not even just gamer culture. That's just culture.
And, you know, we can, not only for National Dex, we can also relate to the animations. You know, if you notice, there are people who complain about the tree animations inside the wild area, which I believe is a very minute detail. That
there's so many things, like, I noticed, like, oh, the shadow like renders weird here or whatever.
And it's like, okay, I'm not really looking at a tree.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, also, I'm gonna reiterate this a lot. This is a children's game, and people who complain about it are not children.
Yeah, no, like, if you compare this game to like Red and Blue, it has so much more polish, just because technology has improved so much since then alone.
And this is like the first few seconds starting off is already such a hype game. You know, we get to meet Leon and we get to see his Gigantamax Charizard. I'm like, I need that.
Yeah, no, I was not expecting them to reveal that so fast. Like, they hit the ground running with this game.
And I think we should talk about that too. Let's talk about the story.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Let's talk about like the pacing of the game. I think, how do you feel about it?
Overall, I like it. I think that, like, going into it with like the expectations of older games can kind of ruin it, because I think, you know, compared to the other games, this game is much more champion focused. Like, I think other games, especially starting with I think since the beginning, like, it's always been like, oh, you're gonna be champion, but also you gotta fight the evil team of this region or whatever.
I think that's one of the beauties of this game. Like, you're focused on your journey.
Yeah.
You know, and like And all the other stuff is not really your business.
Yeah, it's nice like background stuff, and they literally tell you, oh hey, yeah, don't worry about like this giant explosion.
Exactly.
Go become champion. And I'm like, yeah,
And I think that was like good pacing too, because I saw a lot of people complain about like the pacing but plot. I'm like, the plot is for you to become the champion of Pokemon, and that's always been the plot from the beginning.
yeah. No, the biggest payoff I think was beating the game. Because you know how like the intro section normally it has like the legendary Pokemon doing something kind of fancy or striking like a pose.
Yeah.
This one was just the stadium field and it's empty, and like I think there's just a single Pokeball on the field and that's it.
Yeah.
But once you beat the game and you reload into it, like it's you stanced up with your Pokemon behind you.
Yeah, I saw.
Like that was so hype when I like loaded back in. I was like, oh shit, I was not expecting it. It was genuinely like a really rewarding feeling to be like, oh yeah, no, this game is about me. Like forget Solgaleo or whoever, like whatever Pokemon is, posing at the intro card normally. Like no, this game's about me, and I like that.
And I think that was like one of my favorite things about this game, where they kind of sprinkle in plot here and there, but like the main point is for you to be a Pokemon challenger, start off your journey, get to the end, and everything that comes in between is just all your friends supporting you, and then they're just like, do it, just get there.
Yeah.
I think the gym challenge is one of my favorite gym battle sequences in all the installments.
Yeah, I think there were some that like I was like, okay, cool, this is kind of just hokey. Like, for you, I think you had the fighting girl.
No, I have Shield. So
you had Shield?
Yeah, so I have exactly the same as you. So I have Alistair and I have
Melanie. Yeah. Like the gym gimmicks were like some of them were okay. Like the weird pinball one was fine.
Alistair.
Yeah.
I actually kind of liked it. I think one of the lacking ones was like Opal, the fairy type gym leader.
You didn't like that one?
Well, I think because like she was this Q&A, and it kind of reminded me of like Trick Room. There wasn't like, I think it's been done before, so it wasn't completely something like new to me.
Oh,
but I think at the same time I understood like, okay, they can't always do something new.
Yeah,
but it was very cute though.
Yeah, no, I think this game, again, going back to the writing, I think it's fun. I think it's really cheeky, like the fact that it's like, what did I eat for breakfast, and you just have to guess, and then because of that your stats go down. I thought that was like so funny, and like I don't know, I had a really good time.
I had a good time.
Yeah,
I think they took this gym challenge as an expansion from Trials from Sun and Moon, where we lost gyms in Trials, but they gave us back both the aspect of the trial of doing something outside of just battling trainers, and doing something very creative and fun, but still feeling like we accomplished something.
Yeah. I don't honestly remember most of the challenges from Sun and Moon. Like the only one that like sticks clearly in my head was the volcano one, where it's like, what's wrong with this picture, and then like the Pokemon just appears in it.
Let's talk about my favorite gym challenges is probably let's see, I think it was the ice one, because like even though the ice one was like done like where you walk around and you might fall through a hole, it was a lot more creative this time, and it was pretty challenging. I would say so myself. I think sometimes I think recently Pokemon's gone a little bit easy. And for better or less words, have gone a little bit easy for the player to just go through and finish the game really fast. Yeah. And I think having a little challenge is a little healthy. Yeah.
They did a good job of like mixing up the gameplay experience without like, going out and bringing in brand new things. Like the little pinball thing from Alistair. It was fun. I personally didn't care much for it just because I was like, okay, cool. I get what this is. Like, but it was fun to be like, oh, cool. Teacups, but also pinball.
I think it was just very unique and took us. I mean, we still battle people in the end, but like it mixed it up in a way where we can just enjoy the gym itself. And I feel like when we got there. It's like, yeah, we got here.
Yeah, because I think most gyms, if I remember correctly, leading up to Sun and Moon's change, was basically just kind of a weird maze with like a small gimmick. But like I think this game took the best of like the maze ideas and the best of like the challenges and like put them into one.
Not only that, it actually felt like we're doing a gym. Like compared to the anime, like we're actually doing a gym. Like before we just kind of challenge people, but then like when you put in like the anime perspective or even a real life perspective, it's like, are these people like part of working for the gym? Are they like, what are they? And then do they expect us to fight the gym leader right on?
Oh yeah, no, it felt like a much more cohesive experience as opposed to you're just some punk kid running around the region, beating up people and taking their little jewelry.
Exactly. And so it felt like we were like, oh, it's like people acknowledge that you were a gym challenger.
Yeah.
And the fact that you were participating in the gym, and then as soon as you got to fight the gym leader, oh my god, those battles were so hype.
I really liked the gym music.
Oh, I like
the battle music.
The gym leader music, especially when you got to the end and you Dynamax.
Yeah.
I mean, you hear na 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 na.
Yeah.
Na 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 na.
Yeah, the crowd participation made it feel like a much richer experience.
And especially the fact that we had a crowd made it feel like, hey, you're actually being part of something bigger.
Yeah, because like Let's Go games did that kind of, but it was like, 20 people in the crowd and they're kind of weirdly spaced out.
Mm-hmm. Love the gym challenge. My personal opinion, I love the gym challenge, you know?
Yeah, and I love the way it built up to the end, because they got rid of the Elite Four in this game completely.
Oh, yes.
Like, and they replaced it with a tournament, and story-wise, that makes so much more sense than 4 random people locked in their own rooms and like they're just there to fight challengers.
Yeah, and that really added to the whole like you're gonna accomplish something kind of feeling, because like, you know, the Elite Four were like, 4 pillars that you had to defeat, because I don't know how they're decided, but they're just there, they're just strong players, and then you fight the champion, and if you defeat the champion, I guess he's still the champion from the old games.
Yeah,
he doesn't become an Elite Four, which is weird. And then when you became the champion, you still had to fight through the Elite Four in Sun and Moon, which also didn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And so I think this getting rid of Elite Four and, you know, giving us a cup or like a tournament kind of feel was great.
Yeah. Plus, like, if you go through it and play it again and again, you get to fight all the different gym leaders, plus some just randos. Like, I fought like some dude named David. I don't know who he was or where he came from, but like he had a weird ass like team. It wasn't like type specific.
Mm-hmm.
So the gym challenges, you can go back and it's fun, replayable. And plus, like, when you do that, you get to like, I want like this team to pose on my starting screen now, because each time you do it, it resets.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, so my goal is to level 100 Yampers and then beat the championship match. So when I load up the game, I just see some Yampers behind me hanging out.
And we can talk about level 100 because when we get to raid battles, we get those experience candies, which is also one of the greatest things about this game, because they know people spend a lot of time leveling. So before, the grind was really hard.
Yeah, no, there's no grind in this game, but like in a good way.
In a good way, because like I think Pokemon streamlined it into just you can enjoy the other aspects of the game and still get rewarded and not have to feel like you're falling behind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because like the post game to like most other games is, Battle Tower, but you don't get a whole lot from Battle Tower.
Mm-hmm.
You can get cool items, but your Pokemon can't necessarily grow from that because they cap you at level 50 now.
Mm-hmm.
But now that you get to do max raid battles, you get to do these challenging fights. You get to do them with people online, which is insanely fun.
Mm-hmm.
But you also get like that level rewarding, or like the XP candies.
Yeah, exactly. And max raid battles, oh my gosh, they are so much fun.
Oh yeah.
Just being able to go around, find those pillars of light, and just being able to share this Pokemon with other people and be like, hey, you want to fight them? You want to take them down?
Yeah.
Cool, let's do it. And then, they even did, I think one of the genius things that people don't appreciate is the fact that they cap damage.
Mm-hmm.
So then we all contribute in a way, and then no one can over contribute, especially when we get to like 2 to 5 stars, because they start giving them damage barriers.
Yeah, that was one of the weird things one of the weird things I saw online when people were like, everything wrong with this game. It's like an NPC can one shot the max raid battle bosses, and it's like, I don't know. Did you ever experience anything close to that?
No, I think very confusing with an actual player that joined them, because like, yes, if you play a 1-star raid, you can cap them in one shot.
Yeah.
But when we talk about like 3, 4, 5-star raids, when they have like at least 1 to 2 barriers, and sometimes they have ranging between 3 and 6.
Yeah.
That is when you get a real challenge.
Mm-hmm.
And especially you're trying to add people. So I think probably the only downfall with max raid battles is the harder the battle, the more need you have to actually play with other people.
Yeah.
And if you don't have internet, or if you don't have people around you, you can't actually do those battles.
Yeah.
Though it can be smoothed out, I think it was one of the greatest additions to the game.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, no. I spent definitely a lot of time just doing raid battles and not progressing in the story.
Yeah, I think that was me too. And then I realized I can get stronger raid battles if I finish the story. So it's kind of like, it was both give and take, where I want to explore, but I also need to progress with the story. But then there's like good balance between both, where like you never felt like you had to do one or the other.
Yeah. I don't know. The people who like say, "Oh man, the game's not good because I beat it in 16 hours." Like, you didn't play the game then. You just ran through the story.
And I totally agree. I was thinking about that too, because like I do have friends who like finish the story very fast just to get to the post game. I'm like, there's a Pokemon game and it's a RPG where you should really enjoy the adventure, like just the journey to get there.
Yeah, that's the always thing that befuddles me about Pokemon community, especially, is they rank games on like post game, and it's like, okay, but you play the game to play the game.
Exactly. And you know, a lot of the games have their own character to it.
Yeah.
And like doing it represents the game. And so if people are like, oh, this game's not memorable, it's because you didn't spend the time enjoying it. Because personally, I think I like all the Pokemon installments, with X and Y being the least memorable. But like even then, X and Y was still memorable.
Yeah, it had the local wireless function on at all times, and like for me that made the game. Like, I fought some dude on the light rail on the way to school one time, and I just made a friend online. I'm like, oh cool, I've never had this experience before.
And now I think my favorite thing about X and Y, well, you know, we're tangenting off, but like X and Y was Lumino City. There were so many nooks and crannies about the city that I loved. I love that part. Like, it was so much fun just being able to explore. And I think, you know, Sword and Shield does that really well with the wild area. The wild area is like, even though like it's a whole big, you know, plane of things, there's still always something to do, no matter how much you think you've already done it.
Yeah, like honestly, I just like hanging out in the wild area sometimes. Like, for one, I love the music there.
The music is the bagpipes.
Yeah. But like, because like there's like 3 or 4 different songs I think that play there, right?
I believe so.
Yeah. Like, so like compared to like Breath of the Wild, like obviously there's a scale difference here. But like the things that I did like more about like this open world was that there was like tonal differences. I think Breath of the Wild, gorgeous game, excellent game. Always kind of quiet unless you were in a battle. But I appreciate like they knew they weren't going Breath of the Wild status, so they made it more compact, and there was a lot to do in a tiny area. But like even when you're in those tiny areas, the tone changes. So like, oh, suddenly like the music picks up and it's like, yeah, I'm gonna go run around. Or it's like, oh, it's quiet like Breath of the Wild and it's gorgeous.
Let's talk. And do you want to talk a little about the wild area, like our overall experiences, how you feel about it?
Yeah. Like overall, I liked it a lot. I do wish, you know, there were more HM uses. Like they had like the Tauros, where you can break rocks. Like that was the thing before. They could have done a rock climb kind of thing from Gen 4 when they had the rock climb. You know, I wish there was like more unlocking of it, because everything was basically gated behind, you know, your Rotom bike on water. Yeah. And just for like progression's sake, I think it would have been fun to be like, oh, now I can climb up this hill, or now I can break these rocks.
And I think that was just also a creative choice on Pokemon, just because before people always complain about like having HM locks. Yeah. And it's like, okay, now we took it away. Now do you want it?
I personally have never had a problem with HMs. I like to being able to be like, okay, cool. So now I get to cut down these trees and access this area.
I think it was also a question of common sense too, just because like people like, oh, I can't walk past a tree because I can't cut it. I can't climb back up a hill. It's like, well, okay. Yeah. And you know, we talk about HM locks and like how they gave us fly immediately as soon as we got to the first town. I think that was very interesting. Yeah. But I think from my experience with Wild Area, I love just seeing overworld sprites, and not only that, I see fully evolved Pokemon.
Yeah, I agree. Like the personality was there. I loved seeing all the Pokemon like run out of the grass and try to murder you.
I hate Sneasel. I'm just saying.
Oh yeah, Sneasel and
oh my god.
But no, it was so much fun though. Like I'm glad you got to we got to experience the world in that way.
And not only that, I think it finally makes sense. We could see fully evolved Pokemon just wandering about.
Yeah.
And it's like, we can actually catch them too. We're not like hidden behind some kind of game mechanic where we can't touch them ever.
And they can fuck you up.
If you're starting off a game, if you're still listening, do not touch the Onyx. You're very tempted. Do not do it.
I absolutely did that and I got wrecked. But like, that was me playing like a confident Pokemon. Like, oh yeah, Pokemon's an easy game. I can do this. Yeah, no, I got one shot and I had the type advantage.
Yeah, it just be like that.
Yeah, no, it was genuinely fun though to like be humbled by Pokemon like that.
Yeah, and especially, a lot of people before, they were like, oh, what if trainers are actually out and harassing Pokemon? It's like, no. Pokemon are really out to harass you.
Yeah, I love all those compilations online of just the wild area is a dangerous place where they're like charging at you.
Yeah, especially when you see a Beware charge at you, you finally feel the true fear.
Yeah.
And I love that.
Yeah, but like again, they did such a good job of like balancing personalities because obviously there are some Pokemon that are going to charge at you and like chase you down, they're gunning for blood.
Yeah.
But there's also some like the Bounsweet or like they just come up and like bounce or Yamper like hello and like they have personality and it's so nice.
People who haven't played the game, who refuse to play the game because they're complaining about small minute details, don't really get to enjoy what this game is really going to give us. It's like all those small details, all the attention to detail, all to make us like feel excited to be a part of a new adventure.
Yeah, like is it a hard game? No. And if that's what you want, then
play another game.
Yeah, play a different game. But like if you like Pokemon and you like the world and you like just hanging out, this is a really good game.
And I always think people complain and they still choose to be a part of like Pokemon. Mm-hmm. But then they choose to like not enjoy Pokemon. So they choose to be part of it and not enjoy it. I'm like, well, now you have a choice. What do you want to do? Do you want to enjoy or do not?
And honestly, like, I think Pokemon is like the Star Wars of video games. Like, Star Wars, I think, is a movie series like anyone can enjoy,
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think Pokemon's the anyone can enjoy kind of game. Because it doesn't really have a very high skill ceiling. Like, you can play the game and just put in the time and you'll win, And,
I think that accomplishes the point because it's made for kids.
Yeah. But at the same time, like, the battle tree or battle tower and all, like, there's more challenge to the game. Like, the raid battles, you have to be kind of good and smart about how you play.
The raid battles are definitely there.
Yeah, like, there's a challenge there.
Yeah, and I think Pokemon, it's like, this is one of the better games where they introduce us to actually having a challenge.
Yeah.
Before we had Battle Subway, Battle Treat. By the way, I'm still a little bit miffed because I think my favorite installment of like the battle system was actually the first installment of Battle Frontier from Emerald.
Mm-hmm.
And they haven't improved it since. I mean, I think they gave it first for Sinnoh, but that's about it. I really loved all the different facilities from Emerald.
Yeah.
And ever since past Sinnoh, it was just kind of like one place where we just battle.
Yeah.
And it didn't really feel like I'm engaging.
They kind of do that in this game. Like, have you talked to the dude with the green jacket in Battle Tower yet?
Not yet.
Oh, he if you talk to him, he's like, hey, want me to loan you some Pokemon? It's
okay, the rental Pokemon. Yeah.
So like there is like a little bit of that system. I get that they don't have time to render out an entire, theme park.
It's been quite a few generations, so I think the only thing I'm asking as a veteran player is to, if you'd give us a whole battle system, give us a little bit of that theme part, because I think that was half of the fun. Because like, especially Emerald, starting off, no one was a competitive player.
Yeah.
Those the Game Boy Advance games leading up to DS is when we start getting competitive. But like, those games back then, they were just like, okay, you're here to compete, but like it's a whole new system that you're not used to. And I was like, that was very creative too, because each one had a different theme.
Yeah.
And I was like, how should I deal with this? How should I deal with that?
Honestly, if they just reused the exact same like
combat
games,
I would not mind.
Exactly, I agree too.
I would not mind, because like, Pokemon's always been known to be creative. They did so much in this game. Maybe the only thing I'm asking a little more for, and I always ask every single installment, is give me Battle Frontier.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That definitely was a place, looking back, where I was like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna run around because it's fun to be in the Battle Frontier.
Yeah, and it was something very memorable. And I kind of wish they gave us Delta Emerald, where we can give us Battle Frontier.
Yeah. Maybe one of these days, or a Sinnoh remake.
Oh yeah, Sinnoh remake. Everyone's gonna lose their stuff.
Yeah, no. If they did Sinnoh with like Sword and Shield systems, minus obviously the wild area, I would really enjoy that. Because to be honest, as a kid, Sinnoh is probably one of my least favorites. But anyways, getting back to Sword and Shield, I loved Hop. We kind of touched on it a second ago. Hop was definitely one of my favorite Pokemon, or Pokemon trainers, and I really wanted to get into that.
Yes.
Like, he's, I think, my personal favorite rival.
All right, and I would say the same. Out of all the rivals we've had, he's, let's go for a route. Like, I think Hop, the whole rivals from Sword and Shield have that animosity we haven't had since Green and Silver. Because Green and Silver had that animosity that made us push us to be better. Hop especially, you can see his growth. And him wanting to get better and beat us, even though he was still our friend.
Yeah, like, what's his name? Gary Oak, Blue, whatever you want to call him.
I think people call him Green.
Oh, do they call him Green now?
Yeah, because his pants are green.
Okay.
Yeah.
But whatever you call him, he was, in your face, and that was a lot of fun. But, like, Pokemon, like, has thematically changed to be about friendship. And then, like, but since they made that change, a lot of the rivals we've had are like kind of pushovers.
Yeah, that's why I said this game has that animosity that pushes us to get better.
And I loved that he was the little brother to the current champion. Like, the fact that he like actually gets down in the dumps, and like there is a point where like he really isn't competing with you because he's just getting his ass handed to him by Betty or whoever. Like I think he also lost to one of the later gym leaders. Like, he was getting his ass kicked by a lot of people, and he was getting down about it. And I really liked that because there was something really nice about having a character live in the shadow of the champion in that way. Because, as the player character, and people who already know the, the Pokemon story structure of you become champion. So, like, the champion's, like, your ultimate rival. A lot of us don't get to feel or get that connection with the champion the same way Hop does, or the same way Hop made us, because like he's the younger brother, he lives in the shadows.
You can definitely tell his whole range of emotion when he gets down the dumps. He has personal conflict, he has motivation, he has resolve. I think all of that really reflect in him as a person, and we get to actually experience it and then see those tidbits as we go for a gym challenge. And so this is why I don't appreciate people who like run through the game so fast, because it all happens at once for them. But like, if we take our time, we actually see it progress for Hop instead of happening all at the same time. And especially when we get to the final, when we get to Wyndham Stadium and we get to go against Hop, and you can just see his like disappointment, but at the same time his like love for his friend.
And like, speaking of like the championship battle, like when he does like his little face slap and then he throws out his Pokemon, like it's mirroring Leon. And I thought that was a really nice touch because like he absolutely is living in his brother's shadow, like I said. But like by the end of the story, he steps out on his own. It's like, no, I don't want to be champion. That was me trying to be my brother. But I'm going to be my own person. And like, he's still like a rival. Like, I don't know if you replayed, or if you fought him again when doing the championship battles. He brings freaking Zacian out. Like, who brings a legendary Pokemon out, man? Come on.
I think that was one of the greatest things too, because like our rival gets the legendary Pokemon, and it's like, you're really gonna do that? That's crazy. And like, because before it felt like our rivals, like they were there, but they never really kind of grew with us.
And the fact that like by the end of the story, we've caught the god of the the region. So we're the all-powerful person. No one stands a chance to us. No, your rival also caught the other legendary Pokemon. So, you're not that special, kid.
Yeah, and we can talk about other rivals, too. Let's talk about Bede.
Oh, yeah.
How do you feel about Bede, man?
He was a lot of fun. Like, they brought back Green.
And that's what I loved about it. Like, as soon as I saw him, I saw his attitude, I'm like, I'm gonna like you already.
Yeah.
And I think half of it was like, besides being like endorsed by the chairman, like he had no reason to be this vicious, and I love that about him. It's like, you're just gonna be vicious just because? That's fine by me.
Yeah. And I like that also they didn't like over clutter the narrative with having three rivals.
Yeah.
Like, they took him out because, like, oh, hey, he's wearing pink, and, like, Opal needs someone wearing pink to run the gym.
I think that was so funny just because he was just like, he gets punished for being a dick and then he gets redeemed. And I think I love that, especially when you see him come back at the end, where he's still your rival in the end. And no matter what, he'll still be your rival. I love that.
Yeah, it was fun. I definitely liked his arc too a lot more than a lot of other rivals that we've had.
And not only that, even though we had 3 rivals, and I would say they had, besides Hop, Marnie and Beta have lots of a presence.
Mm-hmm.
Their presence is still a lot stronger in terms of adding to the feel of the game compared to, like, I'm going back to X and Y, where both 5-ish rivals. I don't remember their aspirations. I don't remember their names. I don't remember why they're, like, going out on a challenge too. It just felt like I was just beating them up every single time.
They were all the same character of, I'm friendly, let's fight.
Yeah, and I was just like, all right, it's nothing new, nothing special. And, you know, I love Hal. You know, I love Sun and Moon. Sun and Moon was, even though, like, it wasn't that challenge, it was a lot of fun. It
was a lot of fun.
Especially Ultra Sun and Moon. You know, if you
after you get, like, through that hour of tutorial grind at the beginning.
Yeah.
Sun and Moon was a lot of fun.
I really just appreciate it. Like, I love Hal. You know, he was very chilled and laid back, and it was very interesting to see us become a champion, being technically the rival in those traditional sense.
Yeah.
You know, but you know, Hal was just not there to become the champion, in my opinion. It didn't feel like he wanted to become the champion.
Yeah, no, he was there to have a good time, and he had a good time.
Yeah, he had a good time. I love Hal, but, like, here we were fighting. We were all grinding out. Everyone had their own mission.
Yeah.
You know, Bede Neat was working for the chairman. Hal wanted to be the best and be better than his brother. Us obviously becoming the champion, and then Marnie wanted to become the champion to prove her brother.
Yeah.
Right. And I loved all of it, you know. And so I think it was all unique and all of them very memorable. And because we didn't have so many characters that we needed to focus on, that we get to appreciate the experience more.
Yeah, all the rivals definitely tied in to the story in different ways, which is really nice.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of that, Team Yell with Marnie, I think Team Skull is gonna be my favorite team, like my favorite evil team for a long time.
Yeah.
But Team Yell was a lot of fun.
I liked how they joined forces with us at the end. And I think overall, Team Yell was never even a bad team in the first place. They were just, like, overpraised fans.
Yeah.
And then in the end, when you see them all relating to the second to last gym, you're like, oh, okay. You know, they're never bad people to begin with. And I think that also added to the experience where we don't have to focus so much on some alternate story at the same time we had to focus on our own journey.
I like the weird meta narrative that Pokemon put in where it's like, it's the toxic fan base. But then, like, by the end, the toxic fan base kind of comes around. It's like, hey, we're here for the same reason you are. We're here to appreciate Pokemon.
Exactly.
That was a fun, I don't know if that was intentional on their part to be like, hey, let's address the fact that we have, or gaming communities at large have these toxic fan bases who at the core just love the game. And, you know, I don't know. I don't know if that was, like, an intentional narrative or not. I'd love to see interviews to see if they are.
I think it might be also related to maybe the idol scene back in Japan, where they have, like, idols and they have people, like, screaming and yelling and, like, being a little toxic, fighting for their own phase. But I'm not too sure myself, so I don't want to dig deep into it if I'm not quite sure about where it's going. But
for sure,
I have to say, when we get to the end and we see Marnie cheering us on with Team Yell, I think that was very wholesome, and I loved it. I loved it so much. I really felt connected.
Yeah. I also like that for some reason Pierce follows you around throughout the post game. Like, he wasn't, like, the biggest character, like, in the main game, but, like, for some reason he's the one who's like, yeah, all right, let's do this. And then at the end it's like, don't call me again. I don't want to do this anymore.
I think everyone's personality was very unique.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think that's also one of the greatest things about this game is, like, even the gym leaders' personalities, like, they really play a part in the overall experience, especially when we get to, like, the final gym and you talk to all of them.
Yeah.
They all talk to you. And, you know, they all have their aspirations. They all have their, like, own personalities they're living out. They're not, like, adding to your experience. They're their own experience.
Yeah, because I think there were a lot of forgettable gym leaders in most Pokemon games. But I think this one, I'm like, oh yeah, no, I had a good time hanging out with like each one of these people, and they have their own personalities.
If you and me can like talk about each gym leader, we can still remember one good thing that we had with them.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like everyone had a personality. I think the weakest one for me was probably Melanie, the ice gym.
I think so too, but even then she had like some interesting like facets of her, but you know, that's really picking and choosing.
Yeah, no, like I could complain about this game, but like bottom line is I had a great experience. I still can't confidently call it my favorite Pokemon game, but there were so many things about this that like, oh yeah, no, I'm ready to, once we finish this podcast, pick up the game again and continue playing.
Oh, same here. I actually brought my Switch.
All right.
Is there anything else you want to talk about?
I think the basic review of this game is there's a lot of really good details to it. And I think that if you take the time and experience the game, like for what it's supposed to be, as opposed to, you know, racing through it, there's a lot to really like about this game. If you wanted to like nitpick and be like, oh, the Zawardo ladder that stops time, you know, that honestly makes sense as a design, because if you have Pokemon charging you while you're on the ladder, that's just cumbersome.
Yeah.
But like, overall, I think it's been a great experience. Also, climate change is real, guys. Pokemon said so.
Oh yeah, no, you can look at Galarian Corsola. We can talk about the plot. Like, climate change is real, and don't believe people who say otherwise.
Yeah, Pokemon says it's real, so you legally have to believe them now.
Yeah, like think about poor Corsola.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's it for me. Honestly, I had a great time playing this.
I love the game. I think it's one of those games that I'm gonna be playing for like a while. I'm gonna be investing quite a few hours.
Yeah, no, the max raid battles definitely bring a lot of replayability to like a story alone. Like compared to like most games, I think Sun Moon, for as much as I like it, I never want to replay it again. But this game, I honestly wouldn't mind playing through again. I don't think the pacing kind of gets a little weird towards the end, but like I think overall, like it doesn't really hold your hand in the same way other games have.
Oh, one last thing. You know, when we talk about max raid battles, I think one of the greatest hooks they have from this game is the fact that we have max raid battles and we have exclusive Pokemon in those battles where you can't actually like breed them. So that's part. I was like, that's great, and especially if you've seen some of the Gigantamax. So that's what they're called, guys. Gigantamax forms that are only available in raid battles or if they're given to you. And so like you can't actually reproduce them whatsoever, and so they add so much like I would say need to actually participate in. And so Pokemon did a really good job like incorporating this element and putting an actual need to replay this element over and over until we get what we want. And even then we still play them because they're so much fun.
I think this is probably going to be the first Pokemon game where I complete the dex.
I've always completed the dex, but I want to complete it even more in this game.
I've never wanted to. It's never been a part of the game that I've liked personally. So like when like the national dex came out, I was like, oh yeah, that's fine. I don't care personally. But like the way they designed this game of like the max raid battles and the open world,
and then the fully evolved Pokemon.
Oh yeah. No, like I for sure want to like finish this game. It's
gonna be a goal.
It removed a lot of the nonsense grindy aspects of other Pokemon games.
Yeah, I hated just breeding and leveling a Pokemon I didn't even like.
Yeah.
You know, like now we can just skip the whole step. You know, we can even use XP candies like,
yeah,
let's go, right? And I think that was a great aspect. Great aspect.
Hey y'all, thanks again for watching or listening. Hey, Robert, do you have anything you wanted to plug?
Oh yeah, so if you guys want to get more content, I'm gonna be opening a SoundCloud soon for my own composition stuff. But if you want to find out updates until then, you can follow me on Twitter at SpicyGingerTofu.
Thank you. And be sure to follow Robert, Startown, and myself on social media. You can find those in the description. And if you're looking for more Startown Radio, subscribe to our YouTube and Anchor.fm. Anyways, thanks again for tuning in. Keep on gaming. I need a better outro.